Welcome to Let's Get Creative with Sam, the podcast. I'm Sam Rawlings and I'm a children's creative counsellor. That means I help kids unlock their imaginations and explore the amazing world of creativity. But being creative can also be a great way to take care of our minds and feelings, which is super important. In this podcast, we'll be doing all sorts of fun things. We'll be sharing creative tips and tricks that can help us feel good, interviewing other awesome creative folks in the industry who use creativity for mental well-being, and maybe even doing some creative challenges together that can help us express ourselves. So buckle up, get ready to unleash your creativity and explore how it can help us feel our best, and let's have some fun. Hello and welcome to another podcast episode with me, Sam Rawlings, on Let's Get Creative with Sam. I'm Sam Rawlings and I'm a children's creative counsellor. I also support parents and young people. I work online in a space, and also I do walk and talk therapy. I have lots of offers, lots of freebies around creativity. And I'm also doing an event in May about support for people that are in the wellness industry. Anyway, that's enough about me. Let me introduce my next guest, Jane Gray. Good morning, Jane.
Good morning, Sam. Thank you for inviting me on. It's lovely to be here.
You too. I've known you for quite a while, so this has took a bit of getting there, hasn't it, to arrange this?
It has indeed.
Yeah, but I've also kind of, as I've known you from where it all started, I've seen you grow and develop and change what you do. So would you like to introduce yourself to everybody who's watching or listening?
Thank you, Sam. Yes, I will. Yeah, and likewise, I've seen you develop and grow as well. It seems like a long time since we met. So I'm a transformational coach, and I work generally with women who've got very busy brains. And whenever I say that, women usually say, oh yes, that's me, because it's something that we all struggle with at times. And I help women to press the stop button on their overthinking habit, so that then they're able to live life with a little bit more calm and peace and space for that creativity, because we've all got that creativity within us. And when we're stuck up here in all that busyness, it kind of pushes that out and doesn't allow for it to show itself, really. So I started working recently with more women in business, but that's happened by a happy accident. That's just been my journey over the last 12 months. But I love people. I love exploring how we work as human beings, how our minds work, and how we can get a better experience of life. So I'm very passionate about helping people to overcome those feelings of anxiety and being stuck and just a bit dissatisfied with life and all of that kind of stuff, because that's been my journey. So it's lovely to be here. You'll have trouble shutting me up, so please do guide me along the way.
Well, me too. So that's it then. We're here for
There's no hope.
So for anybody who doesn't know, what is a transformational coach, Jane?
So a transformational coach is somebody who helps you to go from where you are now to create a transformation in your life. So for example, that for me means that at one time I was very stuck in my thinking. It looked like on the outside, like everything was okay.
Yeah.
But on the inside, I was a bit of a crumbling mess. And I knew that there was something, it felt like there was something missing.
Okay.
And it looked like everybody else was having a great time and I wasn't.
Yeah.
So the transformation for me was that I'm no longer like that on the inside. So what you see on the outside matches what's going on the inside most of the time. I'm a human being, so there are times when I have my own wobbles. So the transformation is that I can now show up feeling confident in my own abilities. I can own who I truly am. I don't have to wear that mask thinking, oh, I've got to be this person for that situation, or this person here, or I can just be me. And that's like, there's a sense of freedom with that. And it means that life's easier. There's not as much struggle going on in my life. That's not to say life doesn't still deliver me things that we would automatically assume are going to be struggles.
Yeah.
I don't just struggle with them for quite so long. So that's a transformation. So it's not necessarily going from, living in a terrace house to having this big detached house with a red sports car in the drive. That is a transformation. But the transformation I help people with are the more normal transformations, where actually you're just feeling better about life and enjoying what you've already got. That then helps you to take the action, if you want more, to take the action to get the whatever it is you want.
I love that. And the metaphor that comes to my mind, having a creative mind, is very much the caterpillar to the butterfly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is that that's available for everybody.
Yeah.
It's just that when we're stuck in it, when we're stuck in that caterpillar stage and in the messy pupa bit, we just don't see it. We can't kind of see a way forward. So it's about opening up to that and, allowing that creativity in to see what is actually possible. Yeah. I love that analogy. Yeah. Metaphor.
Yeah, definitely. So you said that you went through your own struggles as a caterpillar, as like wrapped in that cocoon. So I'm guessing for you, it's very much you had to take yourself away from everything, and maybe most people, just to be able to kind of focus on you.
Yeah, it was interesting because I've always been quite a sociable person, and only recently realised that I do need a little bit of downtime after I've been socialising.
Yeah.
So I would show up, with hair done, makeup on, smile on, being jolly. And that wasn't fake. So it's not that I was being disingenuous there. It wasn't that I was pretending. That's how I genuinely felt in that situation. It was when I got back home, when things quietened down, that actually all of those critical thoughts and doubts used to crowd in.
Yeah.
And being a woman and being a Yorkshire lass, it's like, well, come on, you need to get this sorted yourself. Let's just, battle through it. So I think I've spent a long time with some undiagnosed stuff. And because I trained to be a coach, that's really helped me to have my own journey through that. And I think the key thing is, if you're wanting to create that transformation, if you want something to be different, is just being open to it. Even when it seems like something's not working, it's like, just stay open to the possibility that actually things can change. And that's certainly where I've been. And who you see today is not the same. Might look the same on the outside, but it's completely different.
I don't think so, but that's obviously because I know you as well, and I've seen you from like where we first started it was a MIBS group, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
It must have been that 3 years ago, maybe.
I think it was before lockdown.
So I wasn't even before lockdown.
So right, okay. All right, so
I joined 2022, so it must have been
that's more recent than I thought. Yeah.
And you are so different from then, but I think part of it is like I feel somewhere in our age. I mean, I'm 54. I'm not afraid to say it, but I feel the youngest that I've ever been. But I think that's because I've cleared so much, I cleared so much shit. Do you know what I mean? I've worked on myself as well. And I think, like you're saying, when you become something that you're passionate about and that you believe in, your values, your beliefs. So for you, a coach, you kind of, you've got to work on yourself, because it's, I remember being in college when I was training to be a counsellor, and it's like, how can you support others if you can't support yourself?
Exactly. Yeah, and I stopped coaching. So in 2019, I actually took a step away because I was in that space.
Yeah.
So I went into, I love acronyms. So I went into what I call my pod, which is Pit of Despair, which was where, I just felt completely overwhelmed with everything. I was just not in a state to coach anybody. So I took a step back, because you're right. You know, if you're asking for some work done by a plumber, it doesn't matter whether he turns up and he's got a load of stuff going on in his head about his relationship or his, you know, his business or whatever. You just want him to come and fix the tap, right?
Yeah.
But when you're working with people closely like we do, then it's that piece of work is so crucial that we're never going to have it all sorted 100%, but that we are open and we are on that journey to sorting our own shit out and cleaning up the mess, because we can only take our clients as far as we're prepared to go as well. So, you know, it is an ongoing piece of work, which I absolutely don't feel like work. I absolutely love it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We can't do this work if we're not prepared to do the work ourselves. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, definitely so. And I also think that when we're kind of in it, we're not really seeing it. What kind, you know, when I say in it, it's almost like you said, we're doing it. We're supporting others. We're offering that empathy, that compassion, that support. But also for some people, you know, particularly like you say, women, for me, like mums, it's the first time they've been heard, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That, and I'm just in the middle of doing a post on social media, because when I was at work, I used to have what I called my wobble chair. And it was wobbly. It was a broken chair. It wasn't broken so that you couldn't sit on it, but it was a bit unstable, you know. And people used to come and sit on it and have a wobble, not because the chair was wobbly, but because they were having a wobble. And they knew that they would be listened to. They knew that they would be heard. They knew that they would be understood.
Yeah.
And one lady, she used to come along and say, I don't know what you do, Jane, but all I know is that I come around here feeling like, you know, there's a massive problem. And then I go away 15 minutes later feeling lighter and like I can do whatever it is. So I've always been in that kind of space. And you're right, we talk, but people, you know, and it's not a criticism. People don't know how to listen sometimes.
No.
It's a real skill that we've got to work on. And, you know, I still don't listen to my husband very well.
Well, you're allowed.
I know. But when I'm in, you know, when I'm talking to a client, it's like, why can't I do this all the time? It's just amazing, because you pick up on all sorts of things. And you're right, they do feel heard and understood. And I think when you've, again, as going through that journey, like you said, with doing your own work, we've got things that we can share with people.
Yeah.
That help them to feel like they're not on their own, because it can be a very isolating place when we're stuck in all of that stuff, when we can't see the wood for the trees and can't see a way forward. So recognizing that actually there's nothing wrong with them is a really powerful thing to be able to show somebody.
Yeah, definitely. So I love that. I love what you're saying. So where did it all start for you then, Jane, before you became a coach?
Gosh, it's a long journey. So I had a bit of
time.
Yeah, I had a bit of an experience when I was a teenager, and I think it's, you know, my memories, you know what memories like, they get very fuzzy and blurry, and I can't remember the timeline. But I had a lot of fear and anxiety about nuclear war, because it was the second Cold War when I'm 65 now.
Yeah.
It was the second Cold War, so there were lots of TV footage about, you know, nuclear missiles and all of that stuff. And I had a massive fear about that. And I didn't tell anybody because I thought it was silly. Told myself it was silly. And also I knew that my mum, because of her own issues, couldn't give me the reassurance and support I needed. Mm-hmm. So I suppose I got to a point where I thought, well, actually, I'm not going to say this because I kind of know what the response is going to be. My mum was a wonderful woman, you know, so it's not criticizing her. So and then I developed this fear of dying in my sleep, which seems to be linked, but I don't know how. Anyway, I used to write notes on a night. You can imagine, can't you? Crying. Dear mum and dad and Judith and Elle, you know, my sisters, and you know, if anything happens to me, and I'd write all this stuff. It was absolutely heartbreaking. I don't think I did it every night. And one night after another incident where I'd been to see somebody in hospital who was towards the end of her life, she'd got pancreatic cancer, and it was a bit of a shock for me at that age to see a human being in that kind of state. I've not experienced that before. But this particular night when I went to write my note, I call it my voice of wisdom. So it pops in quite loud.
Yeah.
And it usually asks me a question. And the question on this occasion was, what makes you so special?
I see.
And it was like, oh. And the follow on from that. So it wasn't a criticism. It was that you get to dictate when you're going to die. And you're going to get the wonderful choice of just passing away in your sleep kind of thing. And that's kind of what I heard from that. And I didn't write the note, and I never had that thought ever again. And I didn't write another note. It just went. So that for me, it was like, well, that's weird, because all that's happened is I've heard this voice in my head, and now I don't do that anymore. It was just like, oh, well, I'm not quite sure how that works, but it's interesting. And that kind of sparked my curiosity in how what is going on up here creates our experience. And when this changes, it's like a miracle's happened.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the work that I do with children and young people, and helping them understand as well, because obviously they're not adults, are they? So
no.
They're constantly learning, but also it's soaking in. So it's kind of important to give them that right message for them. And we kind of like look at a lot to do with feelings and relationships, but particularly how the brain works in a way that, they'll understand. And also that we've got our two brains, so the connection to the body and the mind as well. And for those that are spiritual, the soul side of it. And, and it sounds like for you, that was a block that cleared at that time.
Well, it was. I mean, it was just
wow. It's a wow as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a proper insight, a huge insight for me. So, and then things went on, and it was apparent that I was definitely a people person, and people were drawn towards me, and I was always the shoulder to cry on. And, I always seemed to be able to say the right thing at the right time.
At such a young age.
Yeah, and again, that happened throughout all my work in that. And it'd be like, well, I don't remember saying that, but obviously it was the right thing at the right time. But again, that's that natural creativity we've got, and that intuition and that connection to spirit, soul, whatever you want to call it, that comes through in spite of the overthinking that we're doing. It's just always there if we just allow it to come through. And then I had a couple of experiences where people that were close to me had died before their time, I would say.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you know what? I'm sure that my purpose on this earth is to help other people. And if I don't do it, I'm not going to know whether that is my purpose or not. And if I don't do it, who knows what's around the corner? Because we literally don't know. And that's not a depressing thing. That's like, well, let's just seize the moment, seize the day kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I decided that I would start some training, and I started training in 2013. So I've been doing this quite a long time now. It shocks me when I think about how long that actually is. And it's just been a journey ever since. And a lot of it has been self-help, which has then helped me to help other people, because I've been through all of that. I've been through the being scared of my feelings, feeling like there's all this dark pit of sadness within me that I'm scared to go, let out, and going through that journey of healing and allowing all that to be is, something that I help others to do as well. So yeah, I set my business up in 2016, and I've just been learning and growing and studying and coaching and doing all the things since then. So yeah, that's kind of my story.
I love that where it started off as a teen as well, when you were so young, and just like, I mean, it sounds like it was a really difficult time as well, because of like your fears around the war and, and death
and death is a huge part, and we're so scared of death, aren't we? But
Yeah.
actually, we're part of this universe, aren't we? We're not, you know, this is our human place to be, and then obviously death isn't the ending.
No.
There's so much more. But if people don't understand that, and like for you at your age, and also as well, we're conditioned, aren't we? So when I say that, for people don't understand, it's how we're brought up. It's the kind of expectations put on us through comments, through behaviours, through what we're
expectations
to be this way. Absolutely. And we are conditioned as children because of their previous, you know, how our parents and, you know, our like relatives, they were brought up, so then they feel that it's the right way. But it's almost like breaking that cycle as well, isn't it?
It is. And that, talking about transformations at the beginning, that's another transformation for me. So yes, I was very fearful of death.
Yeah.
And now it's not, I'm not fearful of it at all, either for myself or for other people.
Yeah.
You know, there's an acceptance and an understanding, and I'm not saying it's the truth, it's my own understanding of what life's all about and what happens, and you know, that's I'm okay with that now. So again, it's a transformation. Definitely. Yeah.
Do you feel now where you're at a place where you can just go?
Most of the time, yeah. Every morning I wake up and I think, I've got another day. It's like, oh, yeah, you know, I'm full of the joys. But again, you know, I'm a human being, so there are times when I fall into that low energy place.
Yeah.
The difference now is that whereas at one time when I'm in the low energy or stuck in my overthinking, because again, I get stuck there. The difference now is that I know I'm not going to stay there.
Yeah.
Whereas at one time I used to be there for ages. It'd be like, you know, it could go on for months. Not constantly, permanently, every moment of every day, but that's how it feels when we're in it. But now it's like, oh, well, you know, here I am. I know it's going to pass. Don't know when. It could be 5 minutes, could be 5 hours, could be 5 days. Who knows? But I know with absolute certainty that it's not permanent.
Yeah, that makes, and I think that's the biggest thing in it, to almost take away from like you know, the people, the women that like work with you, for them to hear that, to be able to hear that, for them to open their mind to hear that it's not permanent, that it will go eventually. Just different experiences take different lengths of time, don't they, to kind of process.
Yeah. And I have actually got a little story that I'd like to share around that overthinking kind of thing. And when I share this story, so I'll share the story as it unfolded, and then I'll share what so I had another insight. I am always having insights, as is everybody, but we tend to just kind of dismiss them, don't we?
Yeah.
But it seems to really help people to see when they're stuck in their overthinking and know what to do about it. So I'd been down to see Rebecca Campbell in London.
Wow.
It was just a day. I know, it was just fabulous. It was a day, and so I was coming back through London, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Just, it was miserable. It was November, I think. So I'd come through the tube system, and I was just about to go up the escalator to King's Cross station to get the train home.
Yeah.
And just as I was about to put my foot on the escalator to go up, I was aware that there was a bit of a commotion on the escalator coming down at the side. So I kind of stepped back to take a look, and a woman had fallen. So right at the bottom, she'd got a long, like a gabardine style coat on. She'd got bags strewn around her neck, you know, and she was just at the bottom. It was busy. It was Saturday tea time, so it was just busy. Yeah. 2 people behind her, they were a couple, a man and a woman. They had like cabin size suitcases with them. So the guy jumped and managed to clear this, I'm going to call her the fallen woman.
Oh, gosh.
She jumped and cleared the fallen woman. His wife, his partner, didn't. So she then fell. So now there were 2 people on the floor. The guy managed to get his wife, partner up or whatever. And then the rest of the people were coming down the escalator towards the fallen woman at the bottom of the escalator. I'm busy trying to help her up and get all the bags untangled and what have you. And I was aware that the people behind her on the escalator were kind of going like this, because they knew that when they hit that point, they were going to fall on top of her.
Yeah.
So anyway, at that point, somebody pressed the stop button. So, of course, once the stop button was pressed, we could lift her up, help her on her way, and then the escalator cleared and they started it again, and on it went. So I was telling some friends about this the following day, and they said to me, "Why didn't you press the stop button, Jane?" Well, I said, "Well, it just never occurred to me. I was too busy trying to sort the woman out. I didn't even remember there was a stop button to press." And then it struck me really clearly that whole scenario is exactly like our thinking. So if you imagine that the escalator is life, so it's always moving. We're always taking in something, so it's always on the go, apart from when somebody presses the stop button, but always on the go. And throughout the day, loads of people come on the escalator. We don't know who's going to come. They just come, random strangers, get on the escalator, go down the escalator, and on they go. That's like a lot of our thoughts. We have between 75 and 100,000 thoughts a day. So thoughts come along, they get on the escalator of life, they come through our mind, and then they go off and do the thing. That's what they're designed to do, until one of those thoughts trips us up. Mm-hmm. And then we focus in. Just let me have a drink. We focus in, we get really focused on trying to sort this thought out. Maybe it's a thought that we recognize as it gets on the escalator, and we go, "Oh, I don't want that thought. Don't like that thought." So we get busy trying to sort it out. Excuse me. So yeah, we get focused in and down on trying to sort this out. And in the meantime, all these other thoughts are coming down the escalator, crashing into it, and they're just piling up and piling up and piling up. Can you imagine the scenario if I'd been on my own, the stop button hadn't been pressed, and all of these bodies, I'd have been like, it'd been hard work trying to clear all that mess. And that's how it feels when we get stuck in our overthinking, when one of our thoughts trips us up, and when we focus in trying to get it sorted. So the way out of that is to press the stop button.
Yeah.
And when it's like magic, really, because when we see that, oh no, I'm at the bottom of the escalator again, it's like the stop button's being pressed anyway, because we just kind of go, oh, there I am again, trying to sort it all out.
Yeah.
But pressing the stop button just gives us a chance to breathe. It lets all of that commotion at the bottom of the escalator sort itself out. When we don't do anything with it, those thoughts can get up and go on their way when we're not faffing about with them. And then we can restart, and off we go again. And the escalator of life is flowing, and the thoughts are coming and going, and then it'll happen again. So, that's how life works, isn't it? So that's my little escalator story that really illustrates beautifully how the nature of thought works, how we approach it as human beings, and what we can do about it. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that today, because it's a story that's really powerful. And, I've shared it somewhere else. People keep saying, "Oh, I can see, I know now what to do when I find myself stuck at the bottom of the escalator."
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that your listeners, watchers, find that helpful. I'd love to hear what they're hearing it, whether they recognize that in themselves.
Yeah, definitely. It's a real powerful story, is that? And it feels like so simple, doesn't it? Just press the stop button, hold everything. So that kind of, for me, what comes up for mind when I was listening to you, and I was just like, where's this going to end? So my overthinking started to happen because of what you were saying. I was like, I saw this fallen woman as being really injured, and then the paramedics were coming, because that is what we do, don't we? We procrastinate, we make
catastrophize,
and just make them so huge that they're unbearable, and that's when the overwhelm comes in and everything. Whereas if we just go like I did, are you at that space now? I was like, take that deep breath, that is putting a pause on it, isn't it?
Mm.
And then doing what we enjoy doing, using that creativity, stillness, as in I've learned a lot through Geraldine Crane, through her spiritual journey and working with her. That stillness is so important. However, it isn't just about meditation and mindfulness. Being silly, I mean, that's top of my, that's top of where I am. It's okay to be silly. It's not embarrassing. It's not shame building. It's that fun. It's that creativity. Sitting on a swing. I mean, can you remember the last time you were on a swing?
Well, I can actually, yes. Yeah, and my stomach muscles really knew about it.
I love that. Yeah, I've been on a swing as an adult and everything, and it just, because as children, we're kind of like, as I said, we don't know what to expect, but we don't know as adults, but it's almost like we're soaking so much information in, and that's the negative and the positive and the rights and the wrongs and all that kind of stuff. But at that time, we're also allowed to that freedom to be a child, to have that creativity, to have that fun. And it's almost like when you become teenagers, like for you as a teenager, that was a really serious time because of what was going on around you that you couldn't control. So then as you get older, fun isn't a part of your world anymore, is it? So then you bring that fun and that life and that creativity back to, the people you work with. And that just warms my heart. That just brings so much warmth. And that love for what you do and who you are, Jane, because, that you're empowering others. You're giving that power back to others to say, press the stop button.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when we can be that, and like when you can have that fun, when you can be silly and it be okay, it just gives other people permission to do that too, doesn't it? So when I can show that actually you can just be who you are, with all your quirks and all your, people would often tell me that I was quirky or weird or whatever. Like, well, yeah, I am, and I love it because I have a lot of fun in my life. I'm always laughing. I laugh every single day. I find the strangest things funny. and so in my sessions with people, when I'm helping women, there's often laughter. And when I worked, in an office and there were expectations around what you did and didn't do, some of my team, because I was the office manager, they'd come and say, oh, Jane, this has happened or whatever. And inevitably, I would just laugh because it was like, not the end of the world. We will look back and laugh. So why can't we laugh now?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, there is a lot of a sense of that. But you're right. It's like when we can do that ourselves, then it gives other people permission, and they will do it in their own way. They won't do it the same as we do. And that's great too, because each time we're kind of raising that vibration, aren't we? It's just lifting that consciousness and vibration and energy that's going out there. And if we can each do that in whatever small way, it's like, well, that's what we need really at the minute, isn't it?
Absolutely.
In the world.
Yeah, because the world is so heavy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So heavy. And it's almost like getting out of that mud and, standing on the grass or in the water just to be able to breathe. And I just think, particularly with COVID, like lockdown, it just changed. It changed our thoughts and our, the way we think and the way that we behave. But actually, even though there's a lot of heaviness that's come from that, there's actually been a lot of positivity as well, isn't it? Wouldn't you say so?
Absolutely, because I think what COVID did was it showed us again how fixed we become in what we think we can do.
Yeah.
So it'd be like if somebody had said, oh, well, you can work from home for, however many weeks, we're going, well, no, you can't do that. If schools had been said, oh, well, you've got to do online, you need to do some online lessons, it's like, well, no, we can't do that. It was just like, it just blew everything that we believed to be true out of the water, really.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think there were a lot of positives. I think for me, this is my personal opinion, I think it's a shame that kids at school have been told now that they will have a problem because of it. Because again, we're conditioning them to believe, oh, well, you were in the COVID years and now, you know, you've missed out on all that stuff. It's like, well, no, they're okay. You know, we need to equip them. They can still be equipped with the right kind of skills and tools that they need to go out there and do amazing things. But if we keep telling them that because they missed out on 2 years of education, like, well, it's not the end of the world, you know.
No,
there are people in the world who don't get the opportunity for education and they go on to do amazing things. So
yeah, absolutely.
let's tell them that actually, yes, that's as it was, and you're okay, and let's just move forward and be amazing.
Yeah, it's almost like schools are living in the past, and the government, you know, all the big wig people, as I kind of say, you know, the ones that we've got no control of whatsoever. But yeah, they're still there, and we're here, and we want the new way of living. We want to be able to, and it kind of makes sense why a lot of children don't feel like they fit in the box of school as well.
Yeah, and my own child, he didn't fit in the box of school.
Yeah.
So again, you know, I know you help lots of mums and parents, you know, and having been there myself, I know what, and like you do, you know, it's a challenge. It can be a challenge in family life when things don't go quite according to the plan. So yeah, I've navigated the whole school refuser, as he was called in his time. Good lad, but you know, I just couldn't manage to attend school because of his stuff that he had going on. It was tough. So yeah. And as mums, we have that, you know, we have a lot of guilt, or we can experience a lot of guilt depending on where our thinking's at. And, you know, things like that definitely feed into that. You know, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? It's like, we just do our best, don't we?
Yeah, definitely so. Yeah. It's not easy, is it, really, being a parent, and like even as a grandma or a grandparent, that brings up its own challenges as well.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I love it. I mean, it was always said, wasn't it? Like, oh, you're a grandma. There you go. You can give them back. But actually, you can't give them back.
No.
It doesn't work that way at all. But because you've been a parent, and now, as I say, now being a grandma, it's almost like I can reflect on my own behaviours as a parent, and now you change it, don't you? You know, you make it different. So like how I am with particularly my grandsons who are teens, it's so different, but actually it's supportive for them, and it's supportive for my daughter as well, you know. So you become such a much better person. But I want to just go back to what you talked about, as in acceptance, and that acceptance again is one of those huge words that as humans, we find really hard to accept ourselves.
Yeah, and we do. And again, we'll go back to the way that our brains are wired, because that part of our brain, the ancient part of our brain, is wired for survival.
Yeah.
And it's not really caught up with how we live our lives today. So we have evolved quite rapidly in terms of the history of time, if you like, but this part of our brain, the reptilian part of our brain, has not. So it still is driven by, I've got to conform, I've got to be in the in group, because if I'm in the out group, I'm going to be picked off by, you know, another group of people or a wild animal or whatever. So we have this drive to fit in, and to be accepted. But the truth is that, well, that's not true anymore. You know, our lives are not in danger if we don't conform. Well, they could be, depending on what we decide to do. But generally, in normal everyday life, it's safe for us to be our quirky selves. it's actually, well, I think it's exciting when you see somebody doing something different that's just a little bit out there. It's like, oh, well, that's interesting. And it takes a lot because of this natural drive to stay safe.
Yeah.
So I think it's that acknowledgement that when we feel like we've got to adjust to be accepted, that's okay too. That's just our brain doing its thing, but it's not the truth of today's society. It's actually safe for us to be who we are. We don't need that level of acceptance to survive. So accepting ourselves, I suppose, is a different story but it's linked to that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we find it difficult to accept ourselves because we think we should be whatever. Yeah. And with social media, Sam, I mean, you'll know as well when you're on it for your business, it's just such a noisy place.
Oh, yeah.
And the comparison kicks in and well, that person's got the life all figured out. I mean, my husband said to me the other day, he said, Jane, that photograph that you've put on Facebook, you look like you're 100 years old.
Oh.
Now, but I'm okay with that because I knew that I was in the car. It was dark.
Yeah.
There was no lovely lighting. I didn't have my makeup on. I said to him, I do that on purpose.
Yeah, me too.
Because I don't look like this all the time. That's not who I am. That's just the version of me that is showing up right now. Who I am is a lot deeper than that.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's perhaps owning that we're a human being and that it's okay to be showing up as that human being, whatever it is that's going on at that moment in time. But the acceptance bit, if we can go deeper so we get to the spiritual soul-led bit, where we understand who we truly are, then it's like there's no difficulty accepting that because that bit of us is perfect, it's permanent, it's peaceful, it's beautiful, it's magnificent. I mean, why wouldn't you be able to accept that?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I just think it's like, and it makes so much sense as well. So it's really about like allowing your vulnerabilities to shine through, being authentic to yourself and giving yourself some self-love.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. I've got so many goosebumps talking to you this morning.
Oh, bless you, Sam. Thank you.
Think, you've just got so much passion about what you do and your beliefs and your values and this what happens a lot. People who go through their own trauma, their own really challenging experiences, they switch it round to be able to support others. And that's what you're doing. That's what I do. That's what you're doing. And I just think that is such a beautiful thing to be able to do, to have those opportunities and be able to support others and get that message out there as well is just huge. And I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I mean, I could talk to you all day. I know I could. However, it's time to move on to the next part.
Okay.
I'm learning to be a little bit more structured, a bit, not too much, but yeah, just because I think sometimes it's important, isn't it, as well?
Absolutely.
So one of the things that, as I say, we've talked about quite a lot this morning, I feel. So one of the things that's kind of always is part of my podcast is to provide 3 tips. I have to make sure I say that right.
Yeah.
We don't want the other word coming out. Really.
No.
For maybe it's like the who you support, or it might be something about yourself that you want to share. I'll leave it very open to what comes up for you, really, Jane.
Yeah. So I think the 3 top things based on what we've talked about today are around that pressing the stop button. Because as I say, that's quite a powerful thing. So I would say work out what your stop button is.
Yes.
Because we all have them. So you mentioned taking a breath, and that's a really simple and effective way of pausing. So when you see that you've got caught up and you're thinking you're at the bottom of the escalator, work out what your stop button is. So it might be going for a shower, it might be going for a walk, it might be putting some music on, it might be being silly, it might be whatever it is. Just do that, to just let that sort itself out, and then you can restart. So work out what your stop button is. When you see that it's time to press the stop button, so when you recognize that, oh, I've gone there again, I've got caught in my overthinking, instead of it being a criticism, learn to celebrate that moment, because in doing that, what's actually happening in your nervous system is that you're coming back to now. It's like there's been all that activity of the getting the woman up and all that stuff, and then it's like, oh, I'm at the bottom of the escalator. That brings you back into your body. So the third one is come back to where your body is. Always come back to where your body is, because now is all we've got.
Yeah.
We can't, if I said to you, scratch your nose 5 minutes ago, you can't scratch your nose 5 minutes ago. If I said scratch your nose in 5 minutes time, you can't do that either, because in 5 minutes time, it's now. So we can only ever work from now. So find where your stop buttons are. When you recognize it's time to press the stop button, celebrate. And come back to where your body is. And that will all help you to just regulate and settle, to allow in all of that good stuff that is always whirring away in the background, like the electricity that the escalator's plugged into. We're always plugged into it.
Yes.
So those would be my 3 tips.
I think I love them, and they're very they're not complicated, they're very to the point, but actually there's so much that you can get from them as well if you're able to kind of follow them. So thank you so much for sharing them, Jane. So where can people find you?
So I'm more on Facebook than anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So people can find me on my profile, Jane Gray. If you search, you'll find me quite easily. I've got a Facebook page called This Lighthearted Life, which is my business name. And I have a group which is called the Women's Inner Stillness and Success Hub, also known as WISH.
So what? Continue.
Go on, sir.
So what would be the difference if people were interested in your group and your page? What are the difference for,
So the group is a place where I go in and I share lots of stuff in there, and it's based on my journey of the last 12 months, which has been to grow myself and my business in a way that's authentic and coming from a place of stillness rather than all the pressure and hustle. Yeah. So that's for women who want to achieve anything. Don't have to be in business, can be anything in life, and who, instead of doing the hustling bit, want to do it from a much calmer place. That's the place to be. I'll share all sorts of things in there. It's a fairly new group, so I've got plans for it that are still developing. And my Facebook page, business page, I post on there business offers and that kind of thing. So that's just like my shop window, if you like.
Yeah.
I share a lot more on my profile and in my group.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. So as I say, we've talked about a lot, and this is kind of where you are now. Now is really important, as we've said, but I am going to dip a little bit into the future now. So what are your aspirations or your goals? Is there something you want to do, or are you kind of happy of where you're at now, would you say?
So there's an element of each in theirs, and it fluctuates. So I am very happy with where I'm at, and I'm working with women one-to-one. I've got a group program coming up, which is called Win Over Wobbles. So we talked about the wobble chair earlier. So it's sort of based around that, because we all have wobbles. Long term, I think what my plan is to grow the wish element, because my passion is, and you picked up on this, is helping women to rise above all of that overthinking and all the rest of it. And I think if I can do that in a group, then I'm I'm going to have more impact, and then they're going to have more impact, and those ripples are going to go out ever further. So at the moment, it's my Facebook group, but longer term, then I think that can develop into something bigger. And that's kind of where my head is. I don't know what that's going to be like, and I'm okay with not knowing. I'm just going to do what makes sense and grow that as much as I can and see where we get with it. So there'll be things like masterclasses on, you know, the topics that come up a lot, like imposter syndrome and procrastination and overthinking, all of that stuff. They're in the pipeline for a little bit further ahead.
I love that. I just love that. I think it's just amazing. I've absolutely loved speaking to you today, Jane. I think I've already said that once, but I've just like, I've learned a lot as well. And I think that's what's really good about the podcast, is because I learn. You know, I don't know everything.
No, none of us do.
That my daughter once said to my dad years ago.
What was that?
I disappeared under the table. She went, "Grandad, you don't know everything." And I just disappeared under the table, like kind of thing. But it's actually a really true point, you know, and it gets brought up in conversations and things like that. So yeah, it's good for me to be able to learn as well, because when we become more knowledgeable, we can share that knowledge as well, can't we?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So we just about come to the end of the episode today. Thank you so much, Jane, for joining me. As I said, it's been such a pleasure, and I haven't seen you for a while either, so this has been such a lovely connection today.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody, for listening or watching. You can find me on Spotify or YouTube on Let's Get Creative. You'll know which is my picture because it's very bright and yellow, because that is my beliefs, as in being in my bright colours makes me feel more positive as well. And I noticed, Jane, you're wearing a beautiful green today as well. So it just changes our mind and our thoughts, doesn't it, when we feel better about ourselves. So, and I will be back soon with another episode. So thank you all. Have a wonderful day, and I will be back soon. See you all for now. Bye.